Well, you know what? We're coming up on a break, and then we're coming up on the top of the hour. But you've really piqued my interest on this topic. I'd like to talk more about it. Can you stick on with us? I mean, can you?
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to roll into a quick break, folks. The number is 257-1111 and 866-554-6636. Please call in with your questions or opinions for Wes Ellison, who's running for Republican ticket in the Texas County Sheriff's Department. We'll be right back. All righty. Again, those phone numbers for you folks to call in and talk to Wes Ellison, who's running for sheriff in Texas County, is 257-1111 and 866-554-6636. The name of the show is Your Call. And like our previous caller, even if you disagree with me, you're entitled to call here and explain what your thoughts or positions are. We want to hear questions that might be pertinent to the Texas County Sheriff's Office. And Wes, we were talking before the break about this posse issue. And I guess the number one question I have is, and you know, since this has been going on out in Maricopa for a while, this has probably occurred. And how did they handle it? What happens if you've got somebody who's in a volunteer position, who's, you know, like let's say on official patrol, he's in a county car or whatever, and, you know, he bounces into a bank robbery, let's say, and ends up in a gunfight with this guy and shoots somebody. What are the legal ramifications of that?
Well, you know, that's justified in his training. That's some of the training that they're given through this posse program, is what to do if they encounter something like that.
I guess I'm thinking more along the lines of, you know, the family suing the county or the city and saying, well, this guy isn't properly trained. He doesn't have the right experience. He's never been in law enforcement. He's only been a volunteer member of the posse for 3, 6, 12 months. He's never been in a gunfight before. He jerked the trigger. You know, I'm just thinking out loud, right? Because we live in such a litigious society.
Well, we stress to those guys that be the eyes and ears and call for another officer to come. Don't get involved in something. Obviously, I mean, there's going to be a situation where you're right in the middle of something.
Sure, he's driving by and they come running out of the bank with masks on, right?
Yeah, but I mean, that's
maybe that only happens in L.A., not in Texas County, but you never know, you know?
Yeah, and I don't remember it ever happening there. Like, yeah, I don't know if you're familiar with Sun City out there. It's a big retirement community.
Yes.
You know, they form their own LLC. They have fundraisers to buy their own equipment and uniforms, and they patrol that. They're basically like security guards for Sun City. Now, there's still deputies that respond there and everything.
Well, let me just relate this back to something that's current in the news, which is the Trayvon Martin thing, right?
Right.
Now, that guy was carrying a gun, and he was licensed to carry it. He lived in Florida, which, of course, is a concealed carry state. Mm-hmm. He was a community watch guy. I'm assuming that was a volunteer position. I don't think they were paid, but it was kind of like, well, you live here, so let's all patrol it, you know. And yet he's now being charged, with second-degree murder. And the questions, and we got to take a break. But the question is, I don't hear the homeowners association defending the guy. They're not, at least his legal defense. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So who's, he's on his own now to support himself on a legal defense fund. And, he's there, whether right or wrong or otherwise, it doesn't even matter. I'm just thinking of the legal ramifications of that,
Right.
So we got to take a break. We're coming up on the top of the hour. Can you hold over? This is a long break, but can you hold over with us? Because I think our listenership would want to hear more about this.
You bet.
All right. 257-1111, 866-554-6636. We're talking with Wes Ellison, who is running for Texas County Sheriff. He's going to hold over for the top of the hour break, which is news and weather, and we'll be right back. Wow, you don't look like what I thought you looked like, Wes.
Oh, really?
I went to your website, and a picture popped up, and I don't know, for some reason I thought of you as a short guy, and it appears I'm wrong.
Well, I have everyone tell me, you look like a sheriff.
You do look like a sheriff.
I don't know what a sheriff's supposed to look like, but
you
okay.
definitely look like a sheriff. All right, folks, we're back. We're on the phone with Wes Ellison. He's running for sheriff in Texas County. By the way, this show is wide open to all of the other candidates that are running for that slot. The current sheriff is retiring, and so that is a wide open position. I understand there's both Republican and Democratic candidates, and Wes has a website where you can go and learn more about his positions and his mission statement, his thoughts and opinions, and a little bit about his biography. It's Ellison for Sheriff, ELLISON for FOR sheriff.com. So August 7th is the primaries, right?
Right.
And so you'll have an opportunity, folks, to educate yourself between now and August 7th about who's the right candidate. But I encourage you to get out there and start learning about these guys now. And the reason for that is, of course, because you hear me constantly pitch that it's your job. You have an obligation to participate. And the best way to do that is to educate yourself, learn what is going on in the community and who is running for office, and then support whoever you think is the right candidate. And whether that's Wes or that's somebody else, that's my mantra is I don't care who you support somebody and play an active role. So Wes has got a website out there where he's got his biography. He's got some experienced things out there about where he's been and what his time has been. A brief bio. He's been in law enforcement for 28 years, and 25 years of that he was in the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. 12 years of that, 25 under Joe Arpaio, Sheriff Joe. 7 months with the Winona Police in Missouri, and 3 years as a canine handler in Willow Springs. So he's a member of the Constitutional Sheriff and Peace Officers Association. Are you an oath keeper?
No, I'm not. I've looked into that, and I haven't. I've been so busy, I haven't really got involved in it.
Well, I'm going to encourage you the way I encourage all of our listeners. Go over to oathkeepers.org and determine whether or not that's the right place for you to be a participant, because we have a major problem on a federal level, which is this NDAA thing. And, it's going to be up to the states and up to the local law enforcement as to whether or not those guys are assisted in violating the Constitution. So I'm a big proponent of, states passing these constitutional amendments to bar the NDAA from being applied in their state and to prohibit any activity by any state law enforcement, emergency services personnel, or employees of the state in assisting the federal government doing NDAA snatches of citizenry. So,
sheriff is your last line of defense.
There you go. There you go. And the federal government is supposed to notify the sheriff when they're operating within his jurisdiction, and I think a lot of times they don't, or they notify him after the fact, and I think that's a mistake. Personally, I think that the sheriff is entitled to know when there's going to be federal activity in his community, for a lot of reasons, not the least of which is overlap and or mistakes. The last thing you want to do is find out that you walked into what you thought was going to be a drug bust and find out that it's some kind of a federal informant or some other deal going on. So all right, give us kind of an overview of your plans for Texas County. You've mentioned that you want to try to take the officers and make sure that they're out patrolling the community. What other areas? You'd mentioned, I think you were going to try to apply for some federal grants, which Texas is not currently doing, right?
Right.
And what are you planning on using those grants for?
Manpower, upgrade communications equipment, vehicles.
Okay.
I need to get in there and see where they're lacking, but I know that one big thing a lot of agencies are getting nowadays is in-car repeaters for your portable radios, to where you're not stuck out somewhere and can't get out on your radio. And I think that's very important when you're out in the county somewhere. Sure. Is to be able to...
how does that work? If another car is within range of that radio, it acts as a repeater to get you back to the home, the home base station. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Are they expensive?
That I don't know. I haven't looked into it. But like I said, there's a lot of grants out there that'll cover. And some grants are full. Some grants you have to put up 25% or whatever. Sure. I'm sure you're familiar with that.
But,
yep. and of course you got to write it up and win it. So
of course.